and the whole thing with card transactions and shit like that, they should never be stored on a database. It should be a peer-to-peer, and then it's done. The information's completely erased, logged on a file somewhere without, super identifying numbers.
That's why I was always big into PayPal. I still use PayPal to pay for mostly everything, because PayPal has no reason or no need to send your card information to the businesses that you're buying from. So if I use PayPal to buy something from fucking, I don't know,
Best Buy,
Nintendo web store or something, Nintendo never gets any of my card information. And the thing is, these people aren't hacking PayPal. They're going to hack Target or Nintendo or Best Buy or whatever. They're going to hack them, but they don't have my information on file. PayPal never gave it to them. I gave PayPal money, who gave them money, so nothing ever happened.
PayPal went out and bought something, shipped it to you, and then you paid them back for it.
Right. But the funny thing to me is, like, the whole premise of PayPal and all that stuff was all about, like, online card security, which eventually translated to actual businesses, because now you can use PayPal at the grocery store, which I think is cool. But I remember trying to convince my mom to buy things online, and and she was scared of putting her credit card online because there's so much like news and things like that, propaganda about people stealing credit card information if you buy anything online, like literally anything. And so there's a huge scare. None of the old people wanted to buy anything online because they thought their entire life savings would get stolen. And I was just like, Mom, if you're really well, people older than us have those.
Yeah, they were allowed to build them over time.
But I was like, if you're really scared, get PayPal. That's specifically the thing that's supposed to prevent all that scary propaganda that doesn't really actually happen anyway from happening. So I'm like, you get this, and then you come in, and she's like, no. And people had, like, there's this weird stigma that PayPal was, like, dangerous, that it was, like, even more dangerous than, like, giving Best Buy your card information. They're like, no, I don't trust PayPal. I've never heard of that before. I'm just gonna go straight to the Best Buy site and give them my credit card and my social security number. I'm like, no, hold on. They don't need your social. You think you're on the wrong site.
You should try fucking getting somebody older to sign up for, like, a brokerage app. That... first signing up for a brokerage app, I was super fucking, like, on the fence about it because of how much information they ask. Because it's basically like signing up for a bank account, and you need all the information that comes along with that, like social security numbers, identification, stuff like that. And that is a scary thing to think about. Is just like, okay, when you're walking into a new brokerage for the first time, as far as like online goes, and you're like, is this a legitimate thing?
Yeah. And that still has, like, a pretty strong stigma around it. It is still kind of scary when anything comes down to, like, your social security number. That's, like, the big bad thing that everybody's scared of. If you have my social, you can ruin my entire life. But more and more things, like, need it. Like, if people are so willing to give it away for certain things, but not for other things, and it's kind of weird. Like, you're willing to give your social security number to Verizon to open up a cell phone service, but you're not willing to give your social security to, like, a corporation that buys and sells stocks.
Yeah.
Like, Verizon doesn't need your social because there's nothing there for tax purposes. The general idea is, like, anything that needs tax documents needs your social security number. I don't get tax forms from Verizon. The only reason Verizon gets your social security number is because if you don't pay them, they put it to your credit. Because any subscription you buy, if they don't have your social security number and you don't pay for their subscription, they have no way to put it back to you. It doesn't hit your credit because they don't have you as a human being. So a lot of businesses will get your social specifically for that reason, for if you don't pay your accounts. Because that's the thing, they want to keep billing you. Because Verizon and Comcast and all those companies, if you can't pay for it, they bill you anyway. and they make money off of that, because then after you've not paid, they sell your outstanding debt to whatever creditor company for half the cost, and they make 50% of that profit anyway. And then they cancel your service or whatever. So they make a little extra money off of you after the fact, and then it hits your credit and you're stuck paying for it anyway. And they all do that, and that's why they want your social, blah blah blah. But a stock, like a brokerage firm or whatever, that actually makes sense for them,
because they have to send you tax documents.
Yeah, because if you buy and sell stock, you have to pay taxes on every single stock that you buy and sell. Like, if I bought 5 stocks and then sold 5 stocks, I have to pay taxes on those. Like, and even if I bought 5 and sold 5 and bought 5 and sold 5 and altogether net made $10, but I bought and sold like $200 worth of stocks, all of that shit still has to be like mathematically done, because like I think you pay less if you don't make a profit, but there's still something there. So they have to send you all the documents for that, and they need your social to be able to do that. You know, same reason why you'd give it out when you get a new job and stuff like that. I mean, when I turned 18 and I got a job, and the job wanted my social, I like legit had to like call my mom, because I was just like, what? Is this a thing I need to give them? Like, I was concerned about it. And I mean, at this point now, I don't fucking care. I give my social to whoever, you know? What
are they gonna do? Steal my debt?
Right?
Have fun.
It becomes it's not as big of a deal once, like, as you get older, because you realize how easy it is to monitor that stuff nowadays. Because nowadays there's websites you can go to that'll tell you if you have outstanding debts or something. So if somebody stole my social, opened up a credit card, and then spent $5,000, I can see it. And if I see it, I can report it, and then it goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And half the time, they go out and catch the dude, you know? Because the dude's doing it to, like, hundreds of people, so it gets stacked on the detective's desk of whatever fucking serial identifier they're trying to catch, you know? And they figure that shit out. The fraud services that do stuff like that actually do a good job of, like, fixing that kind of stuff. And
well, yeah, because they want their fucking money.
Yeah, between the banks, like, my bank is really good about getting rid of things I didn't pay for. Google services are really good at that. Amazon services are really good at that. And then, you know, there's fraud services as well to, like, fix creditor issues and things like that. And then also just flat out the Social Security department. If your Social Security number is compromised, you call Social Security, and they have a whole process to go through to, like, fix identity theft, you know? There's a whole long process, but you can actually get your Social Security number changed. But it's some whole process you'd have to go through by actually talking to Social Security. But that, like, when you actually see it, and you're like, I didn't do that, and then they investigate it, and they're like, oh yeah, this happened in Alabama, and you're in Washington, so that makes no sense. We'll fix that, and then it's gone.
So I'm pretty sure you didn't take a weekend trip to Abu Dhabi anytime soon, did you?
But it's so... If they can do that for, like, a basic purchase, they can do that for full-out fucking identity theft. Like, legit, I used Google Pay to put a down payment on a dog, basically, when I was looking for husky pups. I originally found somebody that was supposed to be a breeder in Seattle, and I tried to do as much research on it as I could, but there's only so much you can find on independent breeders, you know? So they had all these dogs, and it's all the way in Seattle, and they were so young that they weren't supposedly were so young that they weren't at a point where you'd be able to meet them yet, because you're supposed to wait till they're a certain age to not, like, to lower the risk of parvo and things like that. So they wanted a down payment basically, but it's called something else. A deposit. They wanted to deposit on the dog, so you pay part of it and then you pay the rest of it when you pick up the dog. And that was the first thing I checked. I checked to see if that was standard, so I looked at a bunch of different breeders, and it was. A deposit was a standard practice in buying a new dog from a breeder, so that didn't seem fishy to me at all. And then I looked through like a huge list of like different dogs from different places, and I just eventually settled on them. And I didn't see like a bunch of duplicates or anything. So I contacted the dude. It was like a $200 deposit because it was a husky. And I sent it to him via Google Pay. But the thing is it was my first time ever buying a dog from a breeder. Because previously, the last dog that I had was an older dog that I got from a family that just couldn't take care of him anymore. So it's like a whole other scenario because everything is in person. So this one, I don't even use fucking Google, so I downloaded Google Pay and made an account just to send the dude some cash. And he had like pictures of the dog, like fresh pictures, like that weren't on the website or anything. And we were texting back and forth for a while.
Why does this make it sound like you're in a hostage negotiation?
Because it practically was. We were texting back and forth for a while, and then I just didn't hear from him for like 3 days. And I kept texting the dude because I wasn't expecting to be able to see the dog for like a week or so. But it was concerning to me that the dude just wasn't responding at all. So like maybe 3 or 4 days had gone by. Which is enough time for the payment to clear, so the money had been taken. And I still, like, a couple more days go by, and I still can't, like, contact this dude, so I start freaking out. And I start, like, looking through the listings of the dogs again online to, like, look at pictures of it, to be like, I want to see the dog. And I noticed that at that point, the listing for the one that I had chosen, because they had like names and each dog is listed individually, the posting for it was still up. And the one thing that is supposed to happen when you actually do buy from a breeder is when you put a deposit on a dog, that means that that dog is yours, which means that the listing for it gets taken down. The listing for it was still up. And the thing is I actually found a couple new listings that had been posted within the last like couple days, because it had been about a week at that point. And it was like a different breeder name, but the GPS location for like where it was the exact same spot as the dude that I had paid. So I'm like, no, that's wrong. There's nothing right about that at all. I did not continue to try to contact the dude. I went straight to Google, and I was like, I believe I was sold a fraudulent product by this individual. I used Google Pay to pay them. I don't think I'm going to get it. You know, it's for a dog, this and that. And Google didn't hesitate. Like, same day, they gave me my money back.
Yoink.
Instantly. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're able to just pull it out of that other person's account and give it back to me, or if they just gave me money and they're at a loss now. I don't know how that works. But they fucking just gave it back. And I was stoked. And then I was much more careful when I got my actual dog,
I mean,
which is Rena,
it's
who I have
Google,
now.
so they probably just like yanked it. And dude, just if dude took and cashed it out already, then you just have a negative balance.
Right. I hope that's what happened. I hope that they just have the power to just fucking yank it out of his account and just be like, fuck you, guy.
They had to default on the house.
What was important to me was that they didn't even ask questions. They're just like, yep, that's the thing that happens. It sounds terrible. Here's your money back. Amazon's like that too. I had bought something
PayPal's
from Amazon
pretty much like that.
Yeah. You'll hear stories about Amazon though. Amazon and like eBay and stuff like that is historically known for siding with the buyer. So you get all sorts of horror stories about people selling on those sites, and they get screwed over all the time. But if you're a buyer, they fucking love you, and you always get your shit back. which people use to their advantage, and that's why there are horror stories about selling. But you know, and that's how I bought my dog.
So like, okay, so I had to get new key fobs for my Sonic because they had there were the switchblade keys. You push the button and the key would like flip up out of it. There was
Yeah.
nothing wrong with the key, but the buttons on the fob had pushed through. And so I would have to use like a pin to push my unlock button. And eventually that button broke off, so I had to get new key fobs. Well, I ordered these key fobs from a company, and the site description and the picture of the key fob, because there's like 6 different types of key fob for this one fucking car. And I picked the right one and I ordered it. And when I got it, it was the wrong one. And so I returned it, thinking, oh well, they just messed up. They sent me the wrong thing. I even put it in the notes. It was like, sent the wrong one. You know, the correct one was blah blah blah. Got the same ones back that I had sent back in. Not exactly the same, but the same type. And I'm like, okay, fuck it. Nope. Just return it. Just refund me. I'm done. And there was no issues or questions or concerns about it. It just fucking happened.
I love when shit like that happens. No, I don't. I really don't. I fucking
I
hate
hate
that
when
shit.
shit like that happens because it's.
I don't want to go to the post office. That's the thing. If I can't stick it in my mailbox and send it on its way, I don't want to fucking deal with it. There's nothing I hated more than when I had to send my fucking computer, the whole ass computer, back to the company that I bought it from. I made the mistake. I'm not dumb. I know how to build a computer. I know how to fucking set aside time, research motherboards and graphics cards and things like that. I can build a computer. I've done it before. I just didn't want to. I didn't feel like it. I wanted a new computer. I wanted it to be customized slightly.
Fair enough. That makes sense.
But I wanted it to already be ready to go. So I went on the tech site that I always get everything on. I went to Newegg.
Oh, you unfortunate bastard.
For the most part, Newegg has always sent me high quality working shit. But Newegg is the Amazon of the tech world. Not everything on Newegg comes from the Newegg warehouse. It's not like a department store like Sears. A lot of it is individual sellers. And I was looking for computers with a certain like threshold, like a minimum threshold of efficiency and power, like a quality. So I was looking for like a certain quality graphics card and processor and things like that. So I was looking through pre-built and customized computers that were decently priced and decently well equipped. Which it is a decent computer. I mean, I've got an 8-core processor. It's like an i7 97000, something like that. I've got the 2060 Super RTX card. You know, lots of like it's good shit. And when I bought it at the time, the 2080 was like the newest of the RTX cards. So it wasn't an old card by any means. But it was an iBuyPower computer. And what I learned is that there are, number one, like 3 or 4 different companies that have that like type of name. It's like iBuyPower. There's like one that's like I Love Gaming, different things like that. That's like a weird, like Wish.com kind of branding that they have for people buying computers, which unfortunately I had never purchased a pre-built computer online before. We have local computer shops that will build computers for you out of brand parts and things like that. But the problem is that those places mark it up for, you know, building times and stuff like that. You know, they have to pay the guy building it.
They put their idiot tax on it.
Which is to a degree fine, but I knew that I'd end up paying $2,000 for a $1,000 computer because that happened to my dad. He got a computer pre-built from them before, and it's quality. It's a good computer, but you pay way more for it than you're supposed to. than if you would have if you built yourself, which is the whole point of building it yourself, is you get it for the lowest price. Now, I fell for one of those like too good to be true scenarios, and I found a computer that was about $1,500, you know, with some extra bells and whistles. So it's got like Bluetooth capabilities, Wi-Fi capabilities.
Did you say you bought an iBuyPower computer?
Yeah, iBuyPower.
Ah. Yeah, usually iBuyPower does pretty well to meet like parts versus cost. Like their markup isn't extremely high, but go on.
Yeah, no, if you ever have to fucking send them anything, it's the worst shit.
Oh, okay.
It's because they don't pay for it. I had to pay out of pocket. So what I was expecting was when you look on Newegg's website and you look at pre-built computers, they give you a list of the parts that are in the computers. So I knew that it was going to be an NVIDIA card. I knew it was going to be the RTX 2060. I knew I'd have like Intel processors and things like that. And I learned a lot from this experience that I didn't know previously. Number one is it was reasonably priced. I think it was like $1,500 after taxes. Prior to taxes, it might have been like $1,100 or something like that, and shipping and all that bullshit. So when you see the listing on Newegg, it makes it sound like you're getting the branded version of all the parts. So it'll say, you know, Intel processor, 9700 hertz or whatever, i7, I think, all this shit. It would say NVIDIA 2060 RTX. It would talk about how much RAM was in there, the hard drive, and this and that. I didn't pay close enough attention because some of the things aren't branded. Like, they don't tell you what brand of RAM is going in there. They don't tell you what brand of SSD was in there. Because they had a 1 terabyte SSD as well, which is really good. Those are normally really expensive. You know, all this and that. They don't tell you what brand is in there. I was expecting decently high quality shit to go in there.
The fancy shiny shit.
Yeah, I did research. I looked up every single part that was gonna go into the computer. I looked up a motherboard. I looked up the graphics card. I looked up the processor and everything. But the thing is when you Google parts, the first part that it shows you is the original, like, name brand, highest price part. Like, it's the processor that Intel made. It's the graphics card that NVIDIA made, and they sell on their website. So I put together a list of parts, a list of costs, and a total, like, altogether price. And with all the parts that I was putting into the computer was going to be worth like $2,000. And Newegg, and which really iBuyPower, was selling for like $1,100. So I was like, all right, if I build this,
getting a steal.
Yeah, I'm getting a fucking steal, because it was also like 10% off or something like that, because they have a newer, the 2080s are out and all that stuff. I thought it was just like the best thing ever, and I needed a new computer because mine OBS wasn't working with the games anymore. Everything was starting to lag, and I couldn't do the videos that I was doing. So I needed an upgraded system. So one way or the other, I was gonna get a computer. So I was just like, not only is this less expensive than having a guy at a local shop build it, but it's also less expensive than if I do it myself. So it's like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and do this, because I wouldn't even be able to do it this cheap myself. So I buy the computer, you know, it's got all the shit to it. It comes, and I can't remember if I had to pay shipping or not. Usually with Newegg, if it's over a price threshold, shipping is free. So I assume I didn't at that time. They send me the computer, I get it all set up, you know, it's Windows 10, everything's all fancy, goes really fast, easy, quick setup, and I kind of get everything squared away the way I need it to. So I copied over my settings for OBS, got that all set up, you know, downloaded all the necessity programs and everything, and just got a couple games installed. And I started having an issue where my friends at the time were playing a buttload of Overwatch. And so every time I tried to play with them, I would get a blue screen of death every like 5 minutes. I'd be in the game for 5 minutes, get a blue screen of death, have to start all over. I almost got banned from Overwatch for leaving matches mid-game because I was getting blue screened of death, because my friend Taylor fucking the rest of us are fine with quick plays, but it has to be competitive
He wanted League.
mode.
Yep.
And it didn't make sense to me because he didn't even play Overwatch enough for competitive to mean anything. He's just like, he thinks it plays better. Because people are more serious about it, I guess. Which is true, I suppose. But yeah, I almost got fucking banned from their League play because I kept fucking the game. It kept crashing, and all of us were doing all sorts of research trying to figure out what was going on, and everything went back to it being a graphics card issue. Something with the 2060s wasn't compatible with Overwatch.
I remember that.
These crashes. And there were a couple other games. I was getting into Far Cry 5. I think I was playing that for the first time. And that was giving me some crashes once in a great while. That was back when I was still doing my playthrough of... It's not on that list for some reason, but it was when I was playing We Happy
Your thumbnails are priceless, by the way.
I know, right? My friend Taylor is very quick to insult me about everything that I ever do ever. But the thing that makes me genuinely happy is he has nothing bad to say about any of my thumbnails. He actually thinks that they're really fucking cool.
I invented the steering wheel.
That's
science till.
That's my highest view fucking video, I think.
At 1K.
Jesus Christ. Last time I looked, it was 500.
No, I was just scrolling down through my YouTube and it just happened to be there, so.
But yeah, so, I'm fucking with the computer, and I, for the most part, like I said, I am a do-it-myself, so I'm trying to figure out what the problem is with it. Some of the stuff that I found said that it might have been something with the drivers, so I'm uninstalling, reinstalling drivers. I'm going into the computer. Somebody said that maybe something might have gotten jiggled in shipping, so I'm trying to make sure everything is tied in there, all sorts of stuff, and I just can't fix it. So after a week of trying, I'm fuck it, I'm gonna talk to customer service. Now Newegg has a 2-week return policy. I still had about a week. I still had about a week left. I contacted customer service. And obviously I have to go through iBuyPower's customer service, but that then goes through Newegg because I bought it from Newegg, so it's a weird middleman thing. But I can't talk to anybody. It has to be via email. So I'm emailing a dude back and forth, but it's also a Monday, so I'm working the entire week. So I can only send the dude 1 email a day. Because by the time I can do anything with my computer, they're closed. So I tell the dude my problem. I sent him in excruciating detail, just this massive email about everything that I had done, everything that's happening, all the weird random one-off things that happened. It was so incredibly detailed. And from my experience as a customer service representative, I expected the dude to read through it and judge what the next steps he was going to do based off of that. He did not do that. His first thing was he blamed the RAM, which was not anything that I had found in my research anywhere. He said, you might have a faulty RAM stick. Do this test through the BIOS, using Windows to then go to the BIOS and then back to Windows or whatever to test for faulty RAM sticks. And it does passes. It runs data through your RAM and it does a bunch of passes. And it takes 12 hours. And you had to do it twice, because I had to do it with one stick in and with the other stick in. Some stupid shit like that. So yeah. That's 2 days wasted, because I did it once, had to send him an email, go to work. He told me to do it again. So I did it again, sent him an email, go to work. 2 more days had passed. Now it's been 9 days. I tell the dude, I strongly believe that this is a graphics card issue. From day one, I think you put a faulty graphics card in my computer. I dig the computer out. I start looking at all the parts. Number one, I hadn't thought anything of it at the time, because I was just I didn't want to deal with it, but most of the parts in there were brands I'd never heard of. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the processor, it's an Intel processor. Intel makes Intel. Period.
Yeah.
What I didn't know, which is a thing that I learned, is when NVIDIA comes out with a graphics card, they have a blueprint for their graphics card. So they come out with the NVIDIA 2060, whatever. That's their card. Then they sell their blueprint to all the other brands. Gigabyte makes one. A bunch of random other brands make one. But
they
all
sell
the different...
their boards off to other manufacturers and they put different heat sinks on them.
Yeah. All the different brands that took this blueprint made minor tweaks to it to make like their own version of it. Now, at the time that I'd gotten the card, it was like an $800 card if you bought it from NVIDIA.
Mm-hmm.
Gigabyte had a version of the card that was maybe $400 or $500, and then the brand that was in my computer, $150.
Mm-hmm.
Which 800 to 150, you can guess where the price range dropped from what I thought I had to build to what they built me. There's where all the price went.
Yep.
So once I figured that out and went to this website for this card and saw that it was such a cheap ass fucking card, that doubled up my thoughts. Is like, it's definitely the fucking graphics card. You sold me a card that's not even worth half as much as the card that I wanted. This card's fucking broken. Like, I believe specifically if there's any product that you get what you pay for, it's technology. Technology, you get what you pay for. Buy the expensive shit because it's gonna be better.
Yeah.
So when I found out there was a cheap ass card in there, I was fucking pissed. So I sent him the email like, I strongly think it's the graphics card, and the dude's like, no, we're gonna test all this other shit. So he had me fucking toggling things on my BIOS, playing around with like Windows settings, uninstalling and reinstalling shit. Like 3 more days have gone by. Then he's finally like, all right, we'll do this. No. He never even tested the graphics card. That's the biggest thing. The closest we got to that was reinstalling the drivers again. He tested all this other shit. And then he's finally like, well, we're not sure what it is. We really think it's the RAM, so we want you to send it to us, and we'll test it ourselves, and then send it back to you with the right thing, right? Well, my options, because the next part, which is the part that I mentioned earlier that I fucking hated, was they weren't going to pay for the shipping for me to send them in to do what was a warranty exchange for my computer. My computer needed parts warranty swapped out. And that was one of the other reasons why I bought a fully built computer, is because when you build it yourself,
have that cushion, yeah.
Yeah, you have individual warranties on all your parts. And so if you break a part, you warranty the one part. When you buy a whole computer, they warranty the whole computer. And I wanted that. I was like, that was an added bonus to me. So I could just deal with, if anything went wrong, one company. They don't pay for shipping. My options, they gave me like 2 options, and the option 1 was to have this fucking back and forth where I kept mailing them shit, and they would mail shit back to me. So they thought it was the RAM. They wanted me to mail them the RAM. They'd mail the RAM back to me. They had some program where they could like send me RAM, and then I would use it in the meantime while I send them my RAM. And then when they send me working RAM, I send them back the RAM that they gave me, and there's this weird back and forth thing. And the thing is from the get-go, I knew it wasn't the fucking RAM. I kept telling them it was the graphics card. And the alternative option was for me to send them the entire computer and have them diagnose the whole thing. So I was like, now there is a possibility that I might be wrong about the graphics card, but I know the RAM is fine because I did the passes, and the RAM should be fine. There's no memory leaks or anything, no missing data or anything like that on the RAM, but they swear up and down that the RAM's the fucking problem. So I said, you know what, if I send them the whole computer, they can test the whole thing and send back a fixed computer. So I fucking plugged my old one back in, dinked around on that for a couple days, which that's a whole hassle, fucking dealing with all the wires and everything for that. And I brought my computer to the post office, put it back in the box it came in, which my cat now uses as a place to sit.
Always keep the boxes that your computers come in.
Yeah, seriously. It's a massive box, too. But the thing is this computer had to weigh like 40 to 60 pounds. I don't know, something like that.
Oh,
like maybe
God.
more. It's a heavy ass computer. So when I brought it to the post office and they told me that that the label that I got doesn't pay for shipping and that I had to pay for shipping, like I said, I was fucking pissed because they do it based on weight. So to ship my computer to them was gonna cost like $150, and then I also had to buy insurance on top of that because it's a computer, and if they mail it to them and they damage it, I'm screwed. Because the warranty people aren't going to cover that. In fact, the guy in email
they're not even covering shipping.
Yeah, they specifically told me to buy the insurance because they're not going to cover it if it gets damaged on the way there. So I paid $150 for shipping, and then the insurance cost is based on the value of the item. So since my item was valued at like $1,200 before taxes, the insurance was like 10% or something like that. So it was like another 100 and something bucks. So I spent like $250 to send them my computer. So now the $1,500 that I'd spent with taxes and everything just got bumped up to like $1,750. And I send them the computer. They had the computer for like a week and would barely respond to my emails. And whenever they did, they just were like, still testing. I'm like, great, that's helpful. Finally, they send the computer back, and the dude sends me a long email about like what they did to it and what they found. And lo and behold, they swapped out the shitty graphics card for a gigabyte graphics card.
And they still told you it was the RAM.
No.
So the letter said it was the RAM, but the graphics card has been replaced as well.
Right. No, I'll get to that though. There is something funny that I thought was hilarious and that I also hold against them. So for my troubles, they bumped up the 2060 to the 2060 Super. So I have a gigabyte, in which I assume that it's just because that's the gigabyte card they had. But they put the gigabyte 2060 Super in there, which I was more okay with because at least Gigabyte was a brand that I was familiar with. I'm familiar with them. They're at least a recognized decent company, and their version of the graphics card was like $400 or $500. I assume the Super was probably an extra $50 to $100. And the only thing special about the Super is it comes like already kind of overclocked. It's like overclocked, but not. So it's just it's set to a slightly higher frequency or something. So it just runs better.
It's got a slightly higher memory cap.
So, but it is designed to be overclocked, so I can overclock it more if I want to, but I don't because it's not necessary. So they put the better graphics card in there. Everything else was the same. But what I did find out that they mentioned like at the end of the email is that he put a larger power supply in there. And he didn't elaborate on it at all. He just said he swapped out the power supply for one that was bigger, better power supply. And what that screams to me is that when they built it originally, they
didn't have enough power to run the graphics card.
They put in a power supply that was too weak to fucking power the computer. They sold me a computer that didn't work. They sold me a computer with a power supply that was already too small for it. So while they had it, they fixed a mistake they made. And they tried to make it sound like they did me a favor by upping my power supply. But in reality, they were just trying to prevent like me bitching at them later.
You from sending it back again?
Yeah, because the power supply wasn't powering something that it was supposed to. And the funny thing is after that, I wasn't even totally convinced that the shitty graphics card was broken. I was starting to think that maybe it just wasn't getting power. Didn't have enough power because they put a fucking weak ass power supply in there. Because I think they put that in as an afterthought. And it was just I was so livid because all the way up to the point that they had received it, they were so adamant about the RAM. And then they didn't say anything. They wouldn't give me any progress update. And then I get it. And they're like, yep, swapped out the graphics card. They didn't even acknowledge the fact that I was fucking right from the start. They're just like, here you go. And they never compensated me, nothing. And don't get me wrong, computers worked since then. I did get a scare because I did get one more blue screen when I got that computer back, and I was so ready to just huck it in the garbage can. But after that, it never happened again. So I was already all right, fine. Because the thing is with all of that, the customer service shit took so long, and I was so done with it at that point that I was no longer in my return period. They took so long to do something that could have taken them an hour that they took me out of my return period so that I was no longer able to just say fuck it and send it back to them. Because I was ready. I was so fucking ready to just send it back and return it. But they took so fucking long to send it back.